to Behind the Numbers, the podcast that keeps you updated with football within the hobby. This week, I have Bennett Christensen on, my longtime friend of over 20 years. We've studied the NFL draft, fantasy football, and collected cards together, so I bring him on and get his awesome perspective around the NFL. Also got a nice announcement about the show in terms of growing the brand I want you guys to check out, so make sure to tune in. But this week, in terms of the agenda, we'll be doing our Prism review. We got Immaculate and Obsidian look, just kind of see how the pricing is going, how the cards look. We're going to update on our rookies and see how they did in Week 16. Takeaways from Week 16, I usually have 5, but way more than 5 this week just because there's so much going on in terms of movement. Buy and sell section, playoff picture, what it looks like, teams to target in terms of growth within the hobby, and then we'll take a look and see what's ahead for Week 17. Now, time for the show. Welcome to Behind the Numbers, Week 16. Finally bring on my longtime friend Bennett Christensen again for take 2. We had an awesome show before, had some audio issues, and this time we're going to hammer this out and get it right. So I thought I'd bring him back on the show right as we get into the playoffs, have a lot to talk about, and he's the guy I want to talk to about it. So, Bennett, what is up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Tyson? How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Good. How's Christmas? How's the family doing?
It was pretty good. It's pretty good. A lot of good build-up. I got young kids that have been looking forward to it for a few months now, so it's fun to see it all come together. And it's kind of low-key, still kind of quiet with COVID stuff, but had a nice little family Christmas, and it's good. How about you?
Yeah, I'd say pretty much the same. You and I have similar age comparison with kids, so definitely the excitement is definitely building each year. Harvey's getting to the point where every Christmas is the best Christmas ever. So that's nice. It's nice to see that happiness. What are just run through the kiddos, and what was you think there was their favorite gift they got this year? What do you think you did? You delivered their Santa?
Well, let's see. Mia's my oldest. She's 6. She's really into art, so we got her some art supplies, and that was a big hit. My next kid is Callie. She's 4. Just really taking a big interest into dragons lately, so came through with some stuffed dragons, and she hasn't stopped playing with them since. So feel good there. She
might be in a Pokemon card.
Maybe she's gonna hit that angle of the hobby. I don't know. I don't know much about it, but we might have to get into that a couple episodes down the road here.
There we go.
And then Luke's my youngest. He's 2, so he kind of just loved everything. He was ripping everybody's packages open and having a good time. He loved everything he got. So I mean, you could give him a box of cereal and he'd be freaking out. Oh, Rice Krispies, great.
That's the nice way. You can't miss at that age.
You really can't lose. So
that's right.
Overall, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. I think for me, Harvey, he got kind of like a regulation size goal, so he was pretty pumped about that. A couple things are late that come with that, like a little passer and a shooter. So hockey wise, he's kind of locked in on that. He's pretty stoked. Yep. Surprisingly, I wouldn't say surprisingly, we were unsure how much May would like dolls because she's just been playing with her brother so much. But Harvey said he wanted to get her a doll, and the doll has been a big hit. She really enjoyed the doll so far. So I think that's probably kind of our 2, but overall pretty awesome. But I was pretty lucky as well. I have an awesome wife who's constantly thinking about how to help me out and help me on my ventures. And she came through with some graphic designs for the show. So you guys can see up there in the top right corner, I got a new graphic for our show. And I thought I'd just share the screen real quick. You guys a great look at it. So we're kind of growing a bit here. I also got a new Twitter handle for us, numbers_behind. It's kind of our Twitter feed. I'll kind of be filtering out a lot of stuff for the show through that. And we'll get going on Instagram, just really spreading the brand. But just give you guys a closer look real quick on the new logo for the show.
What a great gift idea. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited about it. So here it is. So we got the behind the numbers, we got the football look, we got the trending pricing or trending, whatever you want look there. But a pretty awesome logo. Already kind of looking at getting some coffee mugs and some t-shirts and some awesome hats. So trying to grow the brand a bit. So what do you think of that there, Bennett?
I love it, man. That's real sharp, and it's a testament to you and what you built so far, and just kind of feels like that next step for you taking this forward and growing your brand. So I'm excited for you, man.
Thanks, man. Just getting 1 year down the road and just starting to kind of get things figured out a bit in terms of how overall it's just growing, and it's awesome to have the support of people listening and chiming in and commenting and checking us out. So, but with that, let's get to the point of the show. We got the
make sure you get me on that short list for one of those coffee mugs.
Oh, you bet. I got so much Christensen Realty gear that I have to pay it back. So
There
you
go.
got it. All right. So we got Prism pricing just kind of up to you guys on wax this week. Cello packs. So in the retail to start with, 25 per pack. Hanger boxes are down to 42 to 45. Blaster boxes down to 60 a little bit. Mega boxes kind of holding true to 120 to 140. No Huddle hobbies like 800. Hobby boxes 1,000, and first off the line hobby boxes about 1,400. So you can see the hobbies kind of holding strong. Retail is kind of at I think the low end right now. I think you are in a position that it's getting to the point where I think they are going to start to rise again because it's harder to find. So 60s pretty respectable. I mean, you're still looking at 3X, but if you look and see other products in terms of Prism where they're at later down the road, especially with the quarterbacks in this class, I think that's getting close to a pretty good buy option, even though you might not like the 3X on the retail. What are your thoughts on the just general pricing of Prism, even though it's pretty insane?
Yeah, it's still crazy, but it does feel like it's settling back off a little bit when it initially broke. So that's kind of encouraging, I suppose. The big issue you kind of hit on it too is it's just so hard to find. I've been searching out here and I haven't found a single item anywhere in retail. So it's like,
yeah,
if I want to get into that 3X number is like, well, I guess that's my option. You just kind of have to factor that in, as that's the way it's going to be.
Right. And I think it's been nice to have a guy like Hurts come through right now, and we'll get to that in the rookie report that's kind of added that kind of level with the Burrow injury pulled back, but Hurts coming in has kind of helped supplement that a bit. I think Tua's play is concerning, and we'll get to that later in the show. But overall, I think that it's such a strong quarterback, product in that they have a good group to hold good value, especially with Herbert, on his way to rookie of the year, setting rookie records right now. So, but yeah, it's been pretty good overall. So, Prism's been out for a while, so we had kind of Immaculate and Obsidian kind of been hitting the market and seeing a lot of breaks in those, and we'll just kind of go through the pricing of those. I'll show some of the cards, and we'll kind of talk about your thoughts on the product. Got a couple breaks myself to get kind of things filled out a little bit, but overall, Immaculate's kind of got that flawless look. Obsidian's kind of a little bit off the cuff, a little bit different. I like Obsidian's base cards quite a bit. They're pretty cool looking. Their autos aren't too awesome. They're sticker autos. They're just not very desirable to me. If you want the auto looks, and the autos are definitely Immaculate, but that's why it's more expensive. So Immaculate's hobby box is $950 right now. First off the line, $1175. So they come with one box, has 6 cards in it, and 5 of them are autos. And then Obsidian's boxes are $380, 7 cards per pack, and 1 pack per box. And those kind of vary on autos and variations of numbered cards. So that's just kind of where you're looking at. So I'm just going to share my screen here just to start. Actually, let's just kind of, I'll just give you a general feel of what's in Immaculate. So Immaculate's kind of what they kind of have in terms of rookie autographs is they have a rookie autographs out of 99, introduction autos out of 25 or less, rookie auto jerseys. Probably have 4 or 5 more rookie RPA type variations, but all of them are pretty low numbered, not many over 100. I think none are over 100. It's like 99 or less for all. So that's pretty appealing in terms of you get something that's pretty big. They have pretty cool veteran parallels as well. They have a couple of laundry tags, 101, comeback autos out of 25. They're all really nice. Like even if you do miss like a rookie, you still get a pretty cool veteran auto that could be something cool to just keep. So overall, I think Immaculate, it is pricey. It's hard to hit if you're in a break because you don't have a lot of cards. But if you do hit a card, it's probably going to be a low numbered auto or just a generally nice looking card. But yeah, let's just go ahead and pull this up here and take a look at a couple of Immaculates, and then I'll talk about Obsidian, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got, so right here, this is one of the eye black rookie cards. This one's out of 99 of Antonio Gibson. Actually, this one I got a price on this for us. This one, I think it was 65. So 65 that this one sold for. I actually like this quite a bit. So the idea of this is an eye black patch right here with a nice different colored signature of a Sharpie with your RPA look. What do you think of the eye black cards there, Bennett?
Yeah, I really like the eye blacks. I think it highlights the signature well. I think a lot of the ones I saw was in like a gold color, which really kind of made that pop with that black background.
Right.
So I think it's a sharp looking card.
Yeah, for sure. And we got this one here. So a Justin Jefferson Immaculate RPA out of 14. So it's a pretty big card. I believe this card sold for $325. So pretty good value there for the receiver, high-end receiver, obviously top receiver in the class right now. Really like the patch. They seem like a lot of the patches have numbers on them. A lot of the patches are bigger. So for having the relic on there, pretty cool. My only complaint is like I want to see the player just a little bit more. But other than that, they're pretty clean-looking cards. What are your thoughts on that kind of RPA there for Immaculate?
Yeah, I like that one too. I do agree with you too. When I was looking through these, I feel like I don't dislike how the patch is the center focus, but seems like that bottom left, almost half the card is kind of wasted space. There's just kind of plain down there with all that white. There is the auto down there, but I don't know. Maybe it's being a little picky, but I probably would have slid the patch down a little bit and then made the top team color of the player bigger.
Right. Okay, we saw this one actually pulled myself. It's Denzel Mims 101. So I believe it's the Nike, kind of like the laundry tag edition. Could be wrong on that, but it's an RPA 101 rookie of the kind of my sleeper, Denzel Mims. He lost a little bit of my sleeper status just because the Jets aren't going to get Lawrence now, which we're going to get into. I kind of banked on the Jets getting Lawrence when I made that prediction, but we'll get to that later. We got one of the rookie, just straight rookie auto here of Patrick Queen. This is the college version, so this one's he's actually in his college uniform in the pro deal for some reason. I'm not sure why, but just kind of like he was a mosaic, but he's still one of the top defensive rookies in the class with Chase Young. Kind of a big card here. Justin Herbert, RPA 23 out of 25. I saw that one actually pulled in a break this week, and his RPA for Justin Herbert out of 49. That same card sold for $1,850. So you're probably looking north of $3K for this one. What are your thoughts on this kind of RPA? Is this kind of the same RPA here that we with Jefferson? I do like he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 colors there on that relic, but pretty big card there.
Yeah, that's a great looking card. It does seem too like they've done a really nice job of trying to get multi-colors onto the patches. I haven't seen too many with just a single color, which is a nice touch.
Right.
So that makes it jump out, makes them feel a little bit more special. And I think that kind of goes along with their lines of the Immaculate Collection. They're really trying to make those pretty special cards.
Right, for sure. This one's a little smaller, but it's just Chenault. He's the guy that's going to get Lawrence most likely thrown to him. His card here even sold for a decent price. I think I saw this was like for $70. It's out of 25, just a straight Immaculate Collection rookie autograph. And then here's another big RPA Tua out of 25, and this one sold for $900. You even got the dolphin there on the relic is kind of cool. Is why I picked this one. It looked pretty nice. But overall, Immaculate's pretty clean. That's kind of like my last Immaculate card. It's pretty clean. Like I said, it definitely has the flawless look. There's definitely some big cards in there. And if you hit like one of those, 50 or 99 or less of those quarterbacks, you're going to be getting a pretty good value definitely on that. But definitely easier said than done, but there's definitely some value in these cards for sure. Okay, so moving kind of Obsidian here. So just before I'll leave this card up right now, but Obsidian was looking at, like I said, they're about $378 for a box. Like I said, $380, excuse me. This one right here is one of the case hits. This is the Contra White. Really sharp looking card here. The Jonathan Taylor of this card is sold for $227, one for $560. So there's kind of a big pullback on that, but still it's a SSP, you could say, case hit card. Really cool card. I'm probably up there. I must just like the white versions, but really up there with the white mosaic in terms of how much I like that card. Last time you and I recorded, Bennett. But what do you think of the white Contra Obsidian rookie card there?
Yeah, I think those are sharp. I was looking, I believe the CEH is on eBay right now for a crazy price, but it is sharp. It's that white background highlights the player. They got a nice, essentially located on the card. So they're good looking cards for sure. Right.
This is kind of a not a really rookie variation, but the Obsidian does have the Color Blast parallels. A lot of people really enjoy those. They're very, very hard to hit as well. Really cool metallic, just Color Blast look. There's a Joe Montana one that I saw pulled as well. Just awesome. I just like that's one of the inserts that you'd hope to hit because they're just hard to hit. Okay, we got nice. Sorry, go ahead, Bennett.
I just like that's a nice different look. It feels like those the color blast is something different than we've seen before. So it does again that makes them stand out, makes them a little more unique, just from my view.
Right, for sure. Then you have the Obsidian RPAs, and you can see just comparing them to the Immaculates, they're just not as desirable. Just, the sticker auto, they just don't look as high end either, and they don't sell as high end either. The two RPA out of 100, and in Obsidian only sold for 200, so they just don't quite have the value. They're still cooler cards, but that's also why the boxes are less than half the price. And here's the Jalen Hurts RPA as well. And then they have some just kind of interesting relic options. So they have the volcanic relic for rookies. Usually has a piece of their number on it. And the trifecta, the GSA ball, and jersey card triple relic as well. But overall, the Obsidian's, I think for me, Obsidian is I'd want the parallels and the base cards. I wouldn't be as attracted to the autos. I mean, you look at like a Jefferson rookie auto in Obsidian, so out of 10, it's 240. So you look at 240 versus what it was doing for Immaculate's kind of pretty far behind. So to me, it just seems like the low numbered cards, like Burrow Red Parallel non-auto rookie out of 10 was 400. So it seems like people in Obsidian are gravitating towards the non-autos more than the autos. What are your kind of thoughts on those two products overall? And have you seen any breaks, or where's your kind of status in terms of those two?
I think they're both interesting. Obviously, they're both an expensive release, and it seems like it's almost a product for people that are maybe tired of chasing the long odds of hitting something big. Here's a chance, just pay for it. You're guaranteed several autos, but you're only getting 6 cards per box. So it's a give and take of, with the Obsidian, you're cracking those and you're going to get some good cards, but right out the gate, you're paying $50-$60 per card. That's a high price.
Right.
Or you look at Immaculate, all of a sudden you're at $200 a card. That's a crazy number. I mean, there's some big dogs in there, but just knowing right out the gates that you have to hit every card in there's got to be $200 just to break even is
right.
That's a little hard to wrap your head around.
It is. And I mean, you even think about so if we're saying $1,000 for a box. That Herbert I showed, we're saying roughly $3K. That's a difficult hit. So you hit one of the best cards you can hit, and you're only 3 boxes worth. That just doesn't mount up. So to me, it's just it has to be a product that's broke in terms of you have to get into breaks, and that's how I've kind of attacked. I mean, I've done some random team mixers with 2 or 3 boxes of each, $50. It's still long odds. It's still a big gamble, but at least I'm not losing, a ton. So it's just, I think it's definitely something you have to get into breaks for, just to hope you get a good random team and hit a card in the break. I just don't think you're going to be able to do the buy your own boxes, at least at my status and money.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that too. I think it changes the scenario a little bit. Normally you're doing a break where you're going to end up with a bunch of commons and maybe a good card. And in this scenario, you're really just hoping to hit a team and one card. And if you can do that, great, but still long odds to do that. And, a lot of pressure. That's high end stuff. There's a lot of pressure to hit. And that's not something you want to chase too far because it could drain you pretty quick.
That's true. All right, let's transition to our rookie report. Just kind of talk about how the rookies did this week overall. So as we know, Joe Burrow's out. Herbert was 21 for 33 for 253, 1 touchdown, 4 for 26. He got a good little win against Denver. Kind of a meaningless game, you could say, as both teams are out. But got a win. Tua, 17 for 22 for 94 yards, 1 touchdown. He's benched in the third. And I thought the interesting thing I threw in here, I've always been really concerned about Tua's statistical output because he's just not pushing the ball down the field. He's not making big plays. And so he got benched, and then Fitzpatrick comes in, wins the game, which is a huge win for them. And Fitzpatrick in his a quarter and a half was 9 for 13 for 182 and 1. And so you look at Fitzpatrick, 182 yards, 1 touchdown in a quarter and a half. Tua for 2.5 quarters, 94 yards. So things are getting a little bit difficult. Well, on the takeaways, we'll kind of get into that a little bit further, but just something to think about in the show as you guys are listening. How are we feeling about Tua? Hurts was pretty big again, but in a loss. 21 of 39, 342, 1 touchdown, 2 picks, 9 rushes for 69 yards. Against the Cowboys, the Eagles fell, so the Cowboys are kind of back in that potential division winner again, since that's so easy to be a division winner there. So the thing is concerning there with me, or not concerning, well, I'd say with Hurts, 2 picks is not good. I think that the Eagles probably should have beat the Cowboys, in my opinion. As a Cowboys fan, I thought the Eagles were going to win that game. And the thing that's very surprising to me, I know that Hurts has running ability, but he's running a lot better than I thought he would. He's been getting 69, 75 or higher yards a game, which I didn't expect that much. And I don't know how sustainable it is, but that's the one thing that's been surprising to me. Do you have any quick takes on the quarterbacks there before we go on to tier 2?
Yeah, I'll leave Tua alone. I think we're going to discuss it a little bit more later, so we'll dive into that. I was impressed with his ground game, but like you hit on, he had the 2 picks. He also had 2 fumbles running. So that's, coughing up the ball 4 times. I think they got 1 back, so they only lost 1 of them. But that is concerning, having those turnovers. Obviously, the passing yards is a good number.
Right.
So he's moving the ball okay. But he's just got to protect it. I think that'll come. Probably that's something you can correct and teach.
Right.
But that was my biggest concern coming out of that, was just, potentially turn the ball over 4 times. I don't think you can do that and have long-term success.
Right. And he had that 182-yarder to Deshaun Jackson early that really got his yardage up and going early, but still he made the play. Got to give him credit for sure. So tier 2, CeeDee Lamb, 3 catches for 65, a touchdown. Also had like a reverse end around for 19 yards on touchdown. Jefferson, 6 for 85. CH is out with that ankle injury. Jordan Love's not playing. T. Higgins, 6 for 99 and a touchdown with Brandon Allen coming back. He kind of picked up his production. Chase Claypool, 4 for 54. Jonathan Taylor really been kind of grinding early, 18 for 74 and 2 touchdowns. Brandon Ayuk kind of slowed down a bit, 1 for 15 and 1 rush for 16. Gibson came back, 10 for 61, 2 for 8, and then James Robinson's out. That kind of rounds out our tier 2. I'll just touch on, I think Jonathan Taylor's really getting steam. He's really he's taking over that backfield. He is their kind of workhorse now. He's getting in the end zone a lot. I do think that we're kind of seeing that momentum for him pick up. If the Colts get in the playoffs, he's a guy that could really help them make some good long sustained drives and be a playoff factor. I like seeing T. Higgins come back. Jefferson and Lamb, just kind of same old story, very productive, very talented receivers. So I'm kind of used to that. But what are your takes on that tier 2 group?
Yeah, I like Taylor too. He's been very impressive. Those receivers you mentioned there, what I want to see from them is just the continuation. And they're doing that. Jefferson and Lamb seem like they just keep producing, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, is consistency, because it's easy to have a big game and then kind of step back or take a 2 games where you're not doing as well. But to see them week in and week out starting to do it and put it together is impressive.
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, Higgins was big. I thought. I kind of figured I slowed down on once Burrow went down. I kind of thought he'd just kind of disappear a little bit. And I know he's quiet for a couple of weeks, but having a big game with a backup quarterback, I think bodes well for the future too, that he could be a solid contributor. Yeah,
and I think one thing that I've kind of noticed, well, I think we kind of talked about it, actually, you and I talked about it in the show that we had trouble with, but Claypool being that busy Deontay Johnson, Juju, and Claypool, you can see it's been hard for him to be consistently productive. He was 4 for 54, which is still pretty solid when you're in a 3-headed monster. And so his production is going to have a very tough – he's not going to be able to put up Jefferson numbers very often because he just doesn't have – there's more mouths to feed. And so while I still think Claypool is a really big talent, I just think we're not going to see it the way we're going to see it with Lamb and Jefferson going forward. Kind of going to tier 3 here. So we got DeAndre Swift, 10 for 45, 4 for 25, and just putting it lightly, the dumpster fire of the Lions right now with no coaches. They got absolutely smoked. Brady had 350 in the first half against them. Judy, 6 for 61, kind of a nice game with the numbers, but he had 5 drops. So he's, I think, 4 or 5 drops. Is that right? So he's definitely getting concerning with his hands. Dobbins is Dobbins is getting pretty close for me. He probably should be in my tier 2 by now. He's definitely taken over that backfield. 11 for 77, a touchdown, kind of their go-to guy. Chase Young, just again, he's kind of this year's Bosa in terms of defensive player that has some value in the hobby. 4 tackles, 1 sack, a fumble force, and a fumble recovery, just kind of making noise everywhere. And that, they're not playing well right now just because they're struggling with the quarterback position, which we'll get to later as well, but he's still making his presence felt. Pittman slowed down quite a bit, 3 for 38. Rager, 3 for 30. Unfortunately, Akers out with an ankle injury after he had some nice steam going. Moss had a pretty nice game tonight. Chenault, 5 for 48, 1 touchdown. He kind of moves into that potential sleeper, getting that franchise quarterback, being on the Jaguars. They do seem to like to get him the ball in space, which I really think could be a good value for him. If they do get a new regime and a new quarterback, I think that could be helpful. Ruggs really hasn't done much. I've been really disappointed with him overall this year. 1 rush for 7 yards is all. Mims was catchless this week. And Aj Dillon burst on the scene this week, 21 for 124 and 2 touchdowns. So with the tier 3 guys, Bennett, since you're a big Packers fan, I want to get your kind of take on the changing of the guard for Aj Dillon. Are they shifting to him? Were they just trying to rest Jones? I kind of feel like, and this is just pure speculation, but I just feel like they kind of planned on using him in the winter. He just seems like a winter back that's a bruiser, and Green Bay just kind of seemed like they were going to give him more touches as they got to this time of year. But what are your thoughts on Aj Dillon since you got the inside scoop over there in Green Bay?
It's interesting. A lot of people were pretty shocked when last year at draft time, everybody, at least all the fans, everybody's clamoring for a receiver. Obviously, round 1, we go Jordan Love. So it's like, okay, round 2, we'll definitely take one. Then they take Dillon round 2, and that shocked a lot of people just going running back position. And I read a few comments at the time, and they're like, go ahead, complain now, be disappointed, and then you guys will be fine from December when it's snowing and Dillon's running through everybody. And so finally, that came true last night. So it was good to see. He's been quiet to non-existent all season, pretty much. Yeah. He did have a little COVID scare there for a while, but he looked good. I mean, he's big, he's strong. He made some nice cuts, which was nice to see for a big back. I think it's an indication a little bit what we're going to see in the future. I think Aaron Jones is his contract's up at the end of this year, and we have a few guys that we got to pay in Green Bay. So I'm kind of thinking they're getting ready for life after Aaron Jones. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go to a different team, and then it turns more into the Jamal Williams, Aj Dillon show in Green Bay next season.
I was just really impressed. Just last thing on Dillon, we can move on. I was impressed that when you watched him, he is that running back that not one guy gets. Like you saw so many running backs or linebackers just like he's just blowing through arms. Like the Titans couldn't stop him. Like he's getting tackled by 4 or 5 Titans every time. He just definitely was tough to bring down. So, and you knew that for Boston College, that's kind of running back he was. So it's great that he's getting the time, and it will be interesting to see what Green Bay does to Aaron Jones, because a lot of people, I think, have been buying up Aaron Jones cards because he has been extremely productive in a Super Bowl potential team. So it'd be really interesting to see how that goes. All right, so that gets our takeaways for Week 16. Usually I try to keep to 5, guys, but definitely have to go a little bit over that because there's a lot to talk about this week. Jags clinched the first pick as the Jets win again over the Browns. The Jets won twice in a row now. Kind of locks the Jags-Jets 1-2. Which right now, most likely, obviously, lock and change in the draft, but puts the Jags with Lawrence. It puts the Jets with Justin Fields, pending they declare and all those things. But it just really seems like those two are both going to be in the draft. Just real quick, I know this is way long term. What are your initial thoughts on Jags, Lawrence, Jets, Fields? What do you think about that, Bennett?
It's interesting to see how that worked out. I think you can go ahead and write Lawrence in an ink. I think the Jags team Twitter sent out a picture of Lawrence in a Jags jersey, so I think that's definitely the plan. They're looking forward to that moving ahead. I think it gets real interesting with the Jets. I'm still curious to see, if they are going to do a whole restart, what coach they bring in. I'm assuming Gase is gone. If Darnold is done, if they're able to trade him, or what they're going to do. I would assume it's going to be Fields. That's probably what I would do, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things that could happen with that pick. So I don't think there's a lot of curiosity at number 1, but I think the draft's going to get real interesting at number 2.
Yeah, I think I agree. There's quite a few movement in terms of quarterback needy teams. Looks like there's about 4 or 5 quarterbacks that could go first round. So again, it might be a very strong quarterback product. That's one reason we're bringing this up. And you and I are draft junkies. We love the NFL draft, but also just the fact that quarterbacks drive the products. And we're looking at 2021. It's going to be a strong product. Trevor Lawrence is a generational quarterback prospect. He's like when you were collecting with Andrew Luck and saw what people were paying for Andrew Luck, it's going to be like that again. He has that, you never want to say can't miss, but he has that type of appeal. He is that locked in as a top talent. Dolphins edge Raiders on Saturday night. Like I said, Tua pulled, so let's just got to get into this. Are we concerned? Are you concerned with Tua's talent, or is this just a simple trial by fire? Like they're throwing the rookie in as long as they can, making the move decision when they have to, but making sure to get him experience along the way. For me, I think Bennett, I am concerned with his, he's just not pushing the ball down the field like I'd like to see him do. I don't see the arm strength we see from Herbert and we saw from Burrow. So that is concerning. And I only worry, I think Tua is probably a guy that can handle being pulled and like kind of, putting in Fitzpatrick and not be mentally broken. So I'm not concerned there. But at some point, that confidence needs to be getting going. We need to see that arm strength and make all the throws that he needs to make this team have a chance. But just what do you think, Bennett? What is your feeling on Tua right now?
I'm still a Tua believer. I haven't moved off that yet. I think I think we got to give some credit to Brian Flores. I think he's kind of under the radar a little bit, doing a pretty phenomenal job in Miami, turning them around and really building them. So I'm assuming he has a plan. It is interesting to see kind of how he's using Tua, and he's got pulled out twice now. I think the first one was a little bit injury related. This one he just really wasn't getting it done. I think I share the concerns of he's not pushing down the field like he was at Bama, but I don't think that means he can't, because we saw him do it there. Obviously, he had the receivers there to do it. I think he's lacking that a little bit in Miami.
Right.
Having the deep threats, but my concern is to see Fitzmagic come in and all of a sudden start tearing things up. If everybody's struggling, or maybe the defense was just having a good day, that's one thing. But then Fitz comes in, he leads them back and plays really well. That's a little bit of concern, but I'm still on the approach. I think Flores is just bringing him along slowly, and it's a learning experience. So I'm still a believer. I know there's concerns out there, but I'm still in that camp where I think he's, he'll get it figured out, and it's going to be kind of a long-term play with him.
Yeah, I still think, to me, like I've said before, the situation's everything, and I think he's in a great situation. They have a lot of picks. They're going to have a lot of chances to make some great pieces to build around that team. So I just think I'm not extremely worried yet, but a lot of things I had coming in, I haven't been answered. So I think that's kind of where I'm at on Tua. We already talked about this one as well, but Green Bay dismantles the Titans on Sunday night. They're locked into the 1 seed right now. I say locked in as they're firmly in position. They still need to kind of make sure things go their way next week against the Bears. But I mean, you got to give just Adams some credit. Adams, like I've talked about before, he is probably the best receiver in football right now. Like he had 3 touchdowns last night. Him and Aj Dillon kind of stole the show, and the Packers dismantled a very strong playoff team, because the Titans are the type of team once they get up on people, they can run on them and make things difficult. And Green Bay didn't have any of it. What are your thoughts on your team's chances?
I mean, I'm cautiously pretty excited. I think that was one of the best games I've seen them play in the last several years, honestly. Complete games. We've seen the offense have big weeks, seen the defense have some big weeks, but they, both units put it together. Adams, man, he's like, if you watch him play, his footwork and his breaks and release, like he's getting open every route. Like every route he's beating the DB. And last night it's a slick, snowy field, and his footwork is just crisp. Like it's impressive. And then the other thing I love about him is how late he puts his hands out to catch balls. Like he'll run his route, he's just watching that ball, and then literally at the last second he just sticks his hands out and he's pulling them in. So I'm excited. I thought we did a good job shutting down Henry. Obviously, I think run defense has been notoriously our weakness, so it's still a concern. I want to see that happen a few more weeks, but it was a good game. I was impressed.
Yeah.
So.
Adams is undervalued in the hobby. Like I still think you should be buying up as a Prism rookie basis, as top chrome. Like I just think he's even if this team does have a Super Bowl chance and he can get a ring, and I don't think he's slowing down. He's got some years to go, and Rodgers isn't going anywhere either, even though they have Love there. I think Rodgers still has at least another year or two. We'll see how things play out contract wise and whatnot, but Adams is definitely a value in the hobby right now. So definitely everybody get on that. Take 4. Yeah, Seattle takes care of LA at home. Pretty ugly game in terms of defensively. The defenses locked down. Goff dislocated his thumb, which we'll get to in a bit, and they kind of pulled away there. But Seattle's clinched the division. The thing that I've just put here is that Seattle's defense is coming along. They've definitely grown throughout the year, and that makes them a serious contender now. So I think for me, a lot of people say they're a serious contender from day one. You're probably right, but I was really concerned with that defense because they can't stop anybody. That luck's going to run out because people stop Seattle. Like they've been stopped by almost, the Cardinals can slow them down. The Rams have slowed them down. The Niners have slowed them down. But now that defense for them is on the other side playing really well. Now they're up there that you really don't want to play them in the playoffs. They're probably one of the tougher teams for sure. Any take on Seattle there?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Seattle's always a little bit of a nemesis as a Green Bay fan, but you just can't write those guys off. They're sneaky. Like you said, they're getting the defense figured out. Jamal Adams was such a big game changer for them. That whole defense, he just changes all the dynamics. And then, with Russ at quarterback, he's going to give you a chance, regardless of what's going on, it feels like. So if their defense is shutting people down, with him at quarterback, I think, they're dangerous. They got a shot at the number 1 seed overall in the NFC next week. So, I mean, they're right there once again. And Carroll knows how to coach in the playoffs. So they're dangerous.
They're dangerous for sure. The Ravens are back on track. They won their 4th straight after falling to 6-5. They're now 10-5, so that looks a lot better than their 6-5 record. Are they back? Are you a believer in the Ravens making a run, or how do you feel about the Ravens right now?
That's a good question. I'm not all the way back on them. I'm encouraged with the way they're playing. They have been playing better, obviously, but I still have my doubts a little bit. I think I just can see Jackson's been playing better, but he still makes me nervous. I can see him having one bad week, couple turnovers, or he's not playing as well. You're out. There's no room for mistakes in the playoffs, and I just feel like he's a little bit mistake prone at this point. Yep.
Yeah, I think they have to continue to. They've been doing it, but they have to continue to grow that running game. They have to get that running game to supplement the pass. Run first, and Lamar does better running. But they got to stay out of the 3rd and longs. If they get a good game script, stay out of the 3rd and longs. I think that they are tough. I do like their defense. They have taken a little bit of step back, but I still think that team, they're still dangerous. They have a lot of talent in a lot of positions. But yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say they're all the way back either. I think the play of Lamar determines it. I think you're spot on with that. That's something that we're still holding our breath on a bit. Kamara, we have mentioned Kamara had 6 TDs on Christmas Day, destroyed a lot of people's fantasy weeks. Unless you had him, you probably won on one player. But Kamara's 6 touchdowns, just incredible. It could have been 7 if they didn't give Taysom Hill one, but just an incredible performance. Not much to say about that. One kind of pretty big thing that just happened yesterday or today, Dwayne Haskins released, just gone. That's amazing. A first-round quarterback simply released mid-season by the team. Where does Haskins go from here? Hopefully it's a wake-up call. A lot of maturity issues, a lot of concerns with him, and just he's not playing well either. And Rivera just said, you're gone. And I don't know, any thoughts on Haskins' release? Were you shocked? What do you think?
I mean, you could kind of feel it coming. You could tell they're disappointed with him. And then the stuff the week before, being out at strip club and no mask, and you just can't do stuff like that. That being said, cutting a 15th overall quarterback, especially in year 2, that's crazy. That doesn't happen.
Yeah. Right.
So obviously it's bad. And I think there's probably more that we don't know on. But I respect Rivera for it. Cut your ties. Yeah. He didn't fit their culture. They're obviously trying to rebuild too, and that's a gutsy move to cut a first-round pick 2 years into his rookie deal. But I'm kind of saying good for him. He's making it his team, and they've played a lot more competitively than I thought, and he's not a guy they want around. So I think he'll get another shot somewhere, but I'm proud of Rivera for making the move he did.
Yeah, you got to right the ship. I think that's a big part of being a leader, and I think that it's something he had to do. It definitely sends a message. Like you said, it's a shocking thing, but it sends a message. I was asked today, what does this as Haskins get back on their team? Like, potentially, is his hobby value dead? And I was like, yeah, he'll get picked up by somebody. He's not. They're going to say 15th overall pick. We're going to give him a shot, but I think that. I don't think he's going to come back from this. I don't see the talent. There's nothing we've seen so far that makes you feel like he's a successful quarterback. So I just don't think he's going to make it. Like, I think you just kind of write it off as a bust at this point. But we'll see where he lands. The last thing, Goff and Murray are both injured. Next week, the Rams do play the Cardinals in a really big playoff game, but they both might be without their quarterbacks. So that's a really big shakeup in what could happen for the playoffs in the NFC if Goff and Murray are not healthy going to the playoffs. That really shakes up the playoff picture and the strength of those teams in the playoffs. I think the Rams have a good enough defense to still be really competitive, but if Murray's out, the Cardinals, they're toast. So that's something we definitely want to have to monitor. So I thought we'd just transition here, Bennett, into this who would you rather. So just buy and sell. I just grabbed 3 sets here. I got 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, and 2 receivers. All these guys are going to be in the playoffs, it looks like. And so I just wanted, one guy's maybe, but just want to get your take. Who would you rather have? So first, we'll start with the quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, 2012 Topps rookie PSA 10 for 280, or Drew Brees, 2001 Topps rookie PSA 9 for 250. Kind of crazy. They're 11 years apart, but
that is.
What are your thoughts on getting some Brees rookies or going Russell?
That's a good question, man. Good choice on those 2. I think if I have to pick one, I'm probably gonna go Wilson. Maybe just for relevancy. I think he's still on the scene. I think Brees is kind of on the way out. I love Drew Brees, but I think just with all the late momentum in the hobby, I think I would trend toward some guy that's a little bit newer, still on the scene, and could probably pull some more of this crazy inflating values.
And I think Seattle, I would say they have better odds of winning it all this year than the Saints. And if they do win it all again, then that's going to give uptick for Wilson. And then, like you said, Wilson has more years to go, where there's a lot of chatter. This might be Brees last year when you fracture almost every rib in your body. And I'm sure that conversation with his family is probably getting pretty close to, hey, it's time, so.
Right.
But Brees is still going to be, he's on top of all passing lists of all time. He will be for a long time. Yeah. But I think I'm with you. I think I'd lean Wilson there as well. Kind of shook this one up here. A couple of wild cards. You got J.K. Dobbins, who's definitely been growing, definitely been getting momentum. I saw an orange prism out of $249 for him for $42. And then David Montgomery has been insanely good the last 4 or 5 weeks for the Bears, really just kind of carrying them. And Trubisky's actually been playing well too, putting them in a chance to make the playoffs. And Montgomery's red prism was 50. I think I know what your answer is going to be here, but how do you feel about Dobbins versus Montgomery here?
I'm going to take Dobbins, but it's an interesting question because I think Montgomery's being slept on. He has played really well this year. The Bears have remarkably turned things around once Trubisky got back in there. They're playing good football. So I think, to me, the decision comes down to, I think Montgomery is a very good player. Maybe he's definitely more proven than Dobbins at this point. But there's a lot of risk to me as far as what are the Bears going to look like. I don't know, week in and week out. The last few weeks they've looked great. I think at the beginning of the season they look pretty bad. So I think there could be potentially some change coming there too. So I think a lot of Montgomery's value is going to be dictated off of the Bears' success. Whereas Dobbins, he's just getting going and building momentum this year, putting together good games. And, I think if I had to last on to one of those, I'd probably go Dobbins. But again, Montgomery could be a good value.
Yeah, I think for me it's the Ravens. I trust the Ravens more, and I know how much the Ravens rely on running the football. And if Dobbins gets the lion's share, then he's going to be a very attractive option. Like you said, the Bears are in and out, right? Foles is in there kind of good. Trubisky was in there kind of bad. Trubisky's back in, now they're kind of good. It's been a very in and out with them. So I think Dobbins is definitely a safer play, and he's younger. That does matter in running back life. So Dobbins, I definitely lean towards as well. The other two, we've Stephon Diggs and Mike Evans. So I think Mike Evans had a ton of the reason I picked these two is Mike Evans had a lot of people on him preseason because he's going to be with Brady and things were going to be great. And I won't say they were great, but he does have a lot of touchdowns, and he had a huge week last week. But Diggs has been the best receiver in the league with Adams probably this year, I think, in terms of production. So Diggs right now, PSA 10, Blue Prism 325. His raw prism's around 18 to 20. Mike Evans, PSA 10 Prism base is 85, and his raw is around 15. I had a tough time finding like exact comparisons of those two. So you can simply just answer like who would you be buying cards of, Diggs or Evans, if you'd like. But that's just kind of roughly where they're at in terms of raw and a couple of notables.
Interesting. I'm gonna go Diggs. I do think Evans he's had a good year. His touchdown numbers are high. I just feel like with Evans a little bit too. I don't know. I just feel like he could drop off faster potentially. Yeah. I could see if Brady, whenever he decides to hang it up, if they get somebody new in there too, I could see him, his production dropping off, and then people just kind of forgetting about him. Yeah. I think Tampa's window is going to close when Brady retires, and that could be soon potentially. So that worries me a little bit. And I think Diggs is just getting going. I mean, he was pretty darn good with Cousins in Minnesota, which is not easy to do.
Right.
And then he goes to Buffalo, and he's had a monster year. And I think, I think he's being slept on a little bit. Josh Allen's had a big year. He's kind of stealing most of the headlines there. But, man, Diggs' numbers are phenomenal this year. And I feel like he's still ascending up and could just keep building on that too.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think I'm with you. I think Diggs is an undervalued receiver. I think he's always been a little bit undervalued. Kind of never really got the perfect rhythm in Minnesota. He had huge games and be gone, huge games be gone. And now that he's been in Buffalo, he's the guy. Got a really talented quarterback that's been getting him the ball down the field. I think it's just been a match made in heaven for him. And I think you're right. That Josh Allen-Diggs marriage, you could say, is going to be long-term. And the Evans-Brady is – ticking, and Evans always gonna have his size. I think he's always gonna be a red zone threat, but I think that Diggs is gonna have the route running and the long-term appeal for sure. So I think for me, Diggs as well. So let's get into the playoff pictures. I think that's an important part of the hobby because people want to kind of start get into teams that can make a run. I'm gonna start with the AFC picture first, and then we'll go to the NFC picture. All right. So in terms of the picture, we got KC's locked into the 1 seed. As if it started today, which it doesn't, obviously, would be Pitt versus Cleveland, Baltimore versus Buffalo, Miami versus Tennessee. Colts are on the edge. If the Browns are in a tough spot because the Browns play Pittsburgh next week, that loss of the Jets really hurts the Browns because if they lose and the Colts win next week, the Colts are in. And you also have Miami's playing Buffalo, so Baltimore and Miami could switch spots. Which I think Buffalo wants to happen. I think Buffalo would rather play Miami than play Baltimore. But in terms of the AFC, Bennett, of those kind of with the Colts in mind, which of those teams do you think have a shot to make a run, like kind of surprise some people?
I think like you kind of hit on, I think Cleveland's loss last week was massive. I think they were in the driver's seat as a good spot, and they were playing great football. I think they could have been a little sneaky, but now I'm concerned. I think if I had to make a guess, I think Colts are going to jump them. That being said, I think Colts can be dangerous. They're getting the running game figured out with Taylor. Rivers, say what you want about him. He's got experience, though. He's not going to be scared of a big game. And I think they're trending in the right direction. So I think if they can get in, I think Colts could be a little bit of a sleepy team.
Right. And actually, I think because the Buffalo win tonight, actually Buffalo would be the 2 against Cleveland. But those are the 7 teams. I think the Colts are definitely dangerous. Depends on who the Colts would match up with against, but I think the Colts would be dangerous against both Pittsburgh and Buffalo, whoever they jumped in against, just because of that running game, like you said. And the Colts do have a phenomenal defense. You have that backing of a great defense that can help you, even though the defense kind of imploded against Pitt last week. But I still think that defense will get things figured out when it comes playoff time. I don't think Miami's a threat. Tennessee, if they get up on you, that running game can scare you. But I really think that the team to watch in terms of hobby is Buffalo. If Josh Allen gets them to the AFC Championship game or even further, really challenges Mahomes, I think that's going to be really big for Josh Allen in terms of the hobby. I really I want Cleveland to make the playoffs because I just think that Baker's had such a great year in development that I think that just getting there is really important for him. And if they miss, that could just really kill their kind of momentum. So I definitely would watch Cleveland if they do make it because I do think Cleveland is a little bit better on the defensive side than people realize. But I think for me, Buffalo, I think Baltimore can make a run because they have the talent. But, like you said, Lamar's little scary. But I would say Buffalo, Baltimore are kind of those two teams that could sneak up and challenge KC potentially. But yeah, the AFC is definitely going to be a fun mix for sure.
I got a quick question to throw at you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Kansas City? Are you concerned at all of their play the last few weeks?
I'm not. I think that they've kind of just throttled it down personally. I'm not too concerned. Last week was weird against Atlanta. I don't know what was going on, but they're all going to rest people next week, and I think they'll kind of get back on track. They're basically going to have 2 weeks off. That might make it a little rust factor, but when I look and see that, like right now, the way things would be Miami or Tennessee, I'm not really about them in the first week for them. So I think when it comes down to it, Mahomes knows how to get the win. And their defense has been better than I thought they'd be. Their defense is actually a lot better than I thought they'd be this year. So I think KC is definitely going to be a tough out, I think. How about you? You worried?
No, I wouldn't say worried, but I mean, KC's always been that team this whole year where it's just like, okay, pencil them into the playoffs. They're going to be AFC title game, probably Super Bowl. And they just haven't dominated for a while. And, I don't know what that means at this point, but I think it makes the playoffs fun. I think they're maybe not the dominant factor that can't be beat. At this point, I'd love to see KC Buffalo potentially. I think that'd be a really fun matchup. So I'm not worried. I guess I'm interested to see how they look in playoffs.
Definitely.
But I'm not betting against them.
Yeah, no. NFC picture right now, Green Bay's in the number 1 slot. They do play Chicago. They really a big impact for Chicago's chances. But right now, as things sit, it'd be Green Bay in the bye, Chicago, New Orleans, first round, Rams, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Washington. Cardinals need Green Bay to beat the Bears and win to get in. Cowboys need to win versus the Giants and Washington to lose. Same for Giants. So the Cowboys-Giants game, whoever wins can be in if Washington loses that night. And then Washington is the night game against the Eagles. So that's how that could shake out. I really feel like in this positioning, Tampa Bay has a really nice – Tampa Bay is kind of locked into the non-division winner because of the Saints. And so Tampa Bay is kind of locked into playing the 4th division winner, which will be the NFC East. So Tampa Bay's in a really good spot to get a pretty nice, a favorable matchup. With the Rams and Cardinals having quarterback injuries, that just really makes things a little bit weaker and makes Chicago a little bit scarier. I mean, Chicago has a pretty good defense. Haven't been as good of a late, but overall, any NFC teams you like to make a run?
I think the NFC is really interesting because, here we are going into the last week, and there's a lot of different scenarios that can play out. Yeah. So there's a lot to play in the last week, which is going to be fun, and we'll have a better idea to see how things shake out. But like you said, Tampa Bay's they're sneaky. They're in a great spot right now. They should have a real nice matchup that first round, and then they're dangerous. Let's say it is if Green Bay ends up that 1 seed. Tampa Bay throttled Green Bay earlier this year, so they've been there. Brady, we all know what Brady can do in the playoffs. They haven't been playing as great lately, but can't count them out at all. So I think if you had to pick somebody, I think they're pretty dangerous. Is not one of the top dogs right now, but the rest of them, I just can't see. If Goff was there, the Rams could be dangerous. If Kyler can play or get it figured out, Arizona could be dangerous, but there's just too many question marks with those two. Yeah. And then, sorry, but NFC East isn't going to do anything. So
that's fair. I think the interesting thing is if it stays the way it is right now, I think that Seattle, New Orleans, that next round game is going to be massive. I think both those teams could challenge potentially Green Bay. It would be interesting to see what happens to Tampa Bay, Green Bay. I still think Green Bay would have the upper hand in terms of talent and kind of figure things out. But I do think Seattle, kind of like Seattle and Buffalo, those 3 seeds, even though Buffalo's actually a 2 seed now, but those 2-3 seeds in both sides are really interesting in terms of what they can do for a run. So I'd like to see what they're going to shake out. All right, man, let's close this up here with the week 17 look ahead here. So just kind of with the big games next week, as mentioned, Cowboys at Giants actually is important. Packers at Bears is important for the Bears, and the Packers to lock up the 1 seed. Dolphins at Bills is pretty important. I think the Bills would like to win that game to kind of make sure to push a better matchup in their first round. Steelers at Browns, Cardinals at Rams, quarterbackless for both, and then Washington's the late night game against the Eagles, which will mean a lot for Washington getting in. But overall, 1 more week of football in terms of regular season until we get to the fun time of playoffs. But what are your thoughts of the NFL overall, Bennett, and how do you think the NFL handled COVID? And we'll get out of here.
Like I said a little bit earlier, I'm excited. It's fun going into week 17, having things all in place. So I think there's some really huge games. Green Bay Chicago turned into a huge game. Chicago's kind of playing for their life. Green Bay's playing for that 1 seed. And then like you said, the Cardinals Rams game is going to be huge too. Battle of the backup quarterbacks. That both those teams don't have very good backups, so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep.
So I'm just excited. I'm excited we made it to week 17. To be honest, with COVID,
Yep.
There was legitimate concerns that the season wasn't going to make it to the end, and here we are. Some few screwy weeks, but nothing really got too off kilter, and looks like we're going to have a playoffs. I wish there was fans. That's the one thing that kind of is a bummer, but
yeah,
we still looks like we're going to have a full season. So that's pretty amazing to me, and looks like we should have a good playoff run. So I'm thankful for what we had. It's definitely different and been tough. Hopefully next year is different, get those fans back. But overall, I think it's about as good as we could have hoped for.
Definitely. There's definitely some minor bumps in the road. I mean, obviously Cleveland we didn't mention, but they had a huge COVID outbreak, so they were definitely shorthanded. There's a lot of reason they lost to the Jets probably, which is really unfortunate. But overall, I think that COVID has gone as smooth as it probably could have. There hasn't been too many huge issues, a little bit of altering here and there, a couple tough, situations here and there, but overall it's been good. We have made a 17-week. We are into the playoff time, which is exciting time for football to kind of see which quarterbacks take that next step. But overall, man, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate you being on. Again, guys,
thanks, brother. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. It's on Bench Clear Media, happily a part of the team. Again, guys, got a new Twitter handle for our show here at @numbers_behind. And I appreciate you guys being with us. Take care. Enjoy week 17.
All right, buddy. Thanks.